with my amazing heliophysics team, getting ready to launch this mission.
And especially given the advanced space has made this extraordinary trajectory
Right.
that the two spacecraft are going to fly around L2, but also
for
again
the first
in your
time
neighborhood.
ever.
First time ever, and it actually unlocks a lot of possibilities for us thinking about Mars going forward, because now maybe we're not stuck with these Mars launch windows.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just it's such a fantastic day.
Cool.
And really briefly, like, can you explain that for our viewers? Because what we're doing is we're kind of doing it in the middle period where we normally wouldn't send something to Mars, but we're going to sit it and let it wait. So explain that.
We are. So we don't have to wait another basically 13 months for Mars to get exactly in the right place and then launch. We are launching the mission. It's going to basically hang out and then wait for Mars to come into the right location and then accelerate full speed ahead to Mars. So it's just a really great, yet another mission of firsts. Yeah.
So many great things. Dr. Fox, thank you for taking the time. I'm sorry I had to grab you, but we couldn't pass up this opportunity.
Well, and I just want to thank you guys. I want to thank Blue Origin for their amazing partnership on the New Glenn. I want to thank Rocket Labs for all the work they've done, the amazing team at NASA Goddard, my incredible team at NASA headquarters. You know, we deliver, they crush it every day, delivering for the nation, inspiring the world.
Well, and thank you. It is an honor to fly a NASA payload on New Glenn today. That you trust us with your technology like that, it means a lot. It's first of many to come, we hope.
First of many to come.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Dr. Fox. Appreciate
Gotta
it.
get back to the console. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Of Blue Moon and Plant 1, the feet of production for space. Tim, what happens in the building behind us?
Well, we're building our Mark II crewed lander, one of the biggest spacecraft ever, and our cislunar transporter, another humongous spacecraft, almost as big as the upper stage of New Glenn. And we even have parts of our second serial number of the Mark I lander in there right now.
No, it's very exciting what this team gets to do on a daily basis, helping NASA, helping Blue return to the moon, this time to stay. Tim, what makes our lunar lander so special?
Well, we're here for reusability and sustainability. We've chosen a lander architecture that someday we can refuel and reuse and go back and forth to the moon several times. One is our Pathfinder. It's using a lot of the same technologies. It's a hydrogen-oxygen lunar lander, and we are aiming it for the moon. A lot of the technologies we need to get the crewed lander.
To return to the moon, this time to stay. What else can we answer here?
I love it. Hey, Eddie, I mean, you saw in the video, we had some B-roll playing back there. You can see with the cars for scale and the massive building. Can you talk a little bit about why it's so big? I mean, our lunar landers, you know, are not necessarily going to be that big. Why does the building need to be that big?
Yeah, no, Tim and I were just talking about this, right? The Mark II crew lander that will be ready soon, it stands over 16 meters tall. So you have to encapsulate that in the very large New Glenn fairing, and that happens in the building behind us. So then we can send that payload fairing to the integration facility at LC-36 and get it ready to New Glenn and launch it to the moon.
Fantastic. I should note, Tabitha, that there's the co-location component of this is so important from a production and ease and operation standpoint. I should also say that's one of the reasons why we built our rocket factory here in Florida. We're the first company organization to build rockets that they then launch out of here also in Florida. And the co-location in principle is supposed to make this, just make the operations faster, smoother, cut down the time, cut down the risk. Anytime you're transporting a rocket, you're taking risk, right? So we want to cut that down. It's cutting down on the risk, cutting down on the operations. But what is also nice is that the team that's going to be building the lunar, the lunar payload and our lunar landers out here get the opportunity to come walk, you know, a couple hundred feet down the road, and then come and talk to the engineers that are here building New Glenn. So the co-location, you know, we do have several locations around the U.S., but by now, in terms of number of people and programs and things, Florida is starting to become a little bit more, let's say, the center of our operational gravity, if you will. And so we're so fortunate that we decided to create such a large campus here in Florida to then be able to add as appropriate, the other programs, not just the New Glenn program.
Right, certainly continuing to build in many ways, and of course, build the road to space for the benefit of Earth. Yes. Well, if you are just joining us, I wanted to let you guys know you've got a live look there from Huntsville. Everyone is getting so pumped up for NG2. But right now, we are at L-minus 48 minutes, about 45 seconds. You might be like, wait a minute, I thought we were a little closer to launch than that. Well, that is because we do have a reset of the clock to allow for weather conditions to clear for launch. That is Kent, Washington.
Go Kent, losing it.
Oh, yeah. I like the guy with the flag. I like whoever's job it is, make sure they're the hype man with the flag.
That is Doug Gross. He has been here. I want to say first couple dozen of employees.
Really?
That man has been here. He's a legend at our company. So if we've given him flag bearer, he's
earned that honor. Hype man for today. Such an exciting day for all of us here at Blue Origin. But right now, we're going to take a moment. We're going to throw it right over to this beautiful rocket. Let you sit with it there on the pad as we are continuing the process for NG2. The broadcast of NG2. We're at L-minus 44 minutes and 50 seconds, and I've got to throw it out to our very own Eddie Seyfert, who is with employees at Rocket Park. They are pumped. We are pumped. Eddie, bring it to us. What's going on out there?
I mean, what can I say? This is hype. This crew, they've committed to be louder than before. This is the heartbeat of New Glenn. These people here, these teammates of ours, they're the ones that build BE4. They're the ones that build New Glenn GS1, GS2, that put Escapade on top of that rocket, and they're here to see a launch. Who's ready for a launch?
Eddie, it's so great to be able to see so many people come out on a Sunday, by the way. That just shows you, as you said, the heartbeat of New Glenn. What are they talking about? What are they most excited about today?
Oh, yeah. Well, listen, this crowd is hyped, as you mentioned, on us for our mission, and our family and friends that let us do this. That's what everybody's talking about.
Yeah, I could definitely feel that. The crowd has been growing, too. Goodness, at L minus 43 minutes. I mean, Ariane, we're feeling it. We're here at the desk. We're isolated, but we feel just as pumped as they do.
Just as pumped. And what gets me, like, as a nerd, even if you're not a space nerd, look at that image. That is
stunning.
So cool. Like,
Well, yeah, what's happening to it right now?
So basically, this rocket is fully fueled. We've got the liquid oxygen, liquid hydrogen on the second stage. That's what you see there on the top. And then you'll see the fins there, and just below the fins, there you go. That's the New Glenn first stage with liquefied natural and liquid oxygen in there. And it looks like, New Glenn on the side of the rocket there. And it's so cool.
It is really, I mean, that's the right
like
word.
A nerd.
It's cool because it's cool.
I know. I had kids, but like my husband, I'm popping out dad jokes. It's really awful. It happens. But anyway, it is, the rocket is looking really, really good. I should say, Tabitha, the team has been working so hard over the last couple of days to get that rocket ready. And in particular, we learned so much on NG1. So much. This is the first time you do something, okay, like you design it one way, but you don't really see how things are going to click and connect physically on the rocket, but also from a team perspective, from an operational perspective, until you do it. And so we learned so much on NG1, and to see the speed and the improvement on NG2 has been amazing. Last week, so I was down here last week for what we call integrated hot fire. So what we do is we stack the rocket, looked exactly like this. We hold down the rocket, and we fire the 7 BE4 engines. There you see the base of the rocket, those 7 BE4 engines.
Super powerful.
Just to make sure that everything is flowing and working right. And we rolled out the rocket one evening, and we hot fired the rocket the next evening. That took us several attempts the first time we did this. And this time, boom, within 24 hours, we had our integrated hot fire test complete, which is what led us here. And then basically a week later, we were on the pad ready to launch because we had a couple of learnings that came out of that integrated hot fire, but we're ready to go.
We're right back at it.
It wasn't a ton of things. And so that is just one way in which we're showing the improvement in our operations of this rocket. And if we keep up on that trajectory, so
Think
to
about
speak,
what that leads to.
That is what's going to lead to the launch, land, repeat. And that's why today is so important for everybody at home. We're objective number one, putting this rocket into space to put our customer, our NASA Escapade mission into space. Objective number two is to get that first stage, the booster, to land on the ship downrange, because we need to learn from the landed booster to be able to do the refurbishment, because this rocket is reusable, because we're going to bring down the cost of access to space through that reusability.
Exactly.
Look at that.
But just taking a moment to sit with the rocket, let's actually toss it back over to the rocket on the pad. Again, you are watching the webcast of NG2.
I'm getting chills. we haven't. We should speak a little bit more about this payload because it's the primary payload, of course, is Escapade. You actually saw there in the middle of the video, we had a little side box there that showed the 2 twin satellites inside the fairing live, ready for their launch to space today. But on top of the payload adapter, kind of the base of where you saw the 2 satellites in there, is also this Viasat it's essentially a radio.
It's a demonstration.
It's a demonstration technology, radio technology for telemetry.
There it is.
Oh, well, there you go. There are the 2 satellites. What a beautiful, the 2 Escapade satellites. We got blue and gold in there. But I just want to talk about this because we talk about landing the rocket today. That is huge. But getting our customers to where they need to go is really, really important. So we're going to deploy those 2 satellites at about T+33 minutes. But then the second stage is going to continue in space, right? The 2 satellites go on their way. And that is when we're going to turn on the Viasat payload as well. So the Viasat payload is not going to deploy. It's going to stay on the rocket. And they're going to test their technology. And it's so, we feel so honored that we've got organizations like NASA.
Right.
We've got organizations like Viasat, one of the foremost satellite operators in the world, that are entrusting Blue Origin with their technology. And, yes, this is the second launch of our rocket, but we have shown that through the way that we do our engineering and our development program that they said, okay, let's take a chance with you guys. And that means a lot to us. That is not lost on us. And so I want to thank, Fly With Us. It really does mean a lot. It's not lost on us what our mission is.
Not at all. Little rideshare payload. The Viasat CPS technical demonstration is what we will be seeing. And you right there are seeing a live look from Jacqueline. And Ariane, it would look so much better, as you said.
Gosh.
It's missing something.
It's missing. There's something
It's just something
off
that
on
could
this
go
image.
right in the middle.
Right
That would look real good.
Can I tell? That landing pad is the same size as the landing pad for New Shepard.
It is.
Which
That's right.
the rocket is 5 times taller. Just think you scale something up 5 times, and we're going to land. To be fair, that's all stacked together. But it's still 7 meters in diameter, and the first stage is massive in its own right. It's still like landing a building, but it's on the same circumference as New Shepard.
It is a moment that I know we're all kind of on the edge of our seats waiting for. I certainly am. We've been building up to this moment for months, and then technically for years, if we look at how much time it has taken from the start of this company. 25 years ago, we just had our 25th anniversary, and something really interesting, Ariane, 10 years to the month and almost to the day is when we landed the New Shepard booster.
Yes, it was, and I don't want to be misquoted. I think it was November 15th.
Ish.
Could be off by a day or two.
That's all right. No one's holding you to it.
But it was of 2015.
Yeah.
When we landed New Shepard for the first time, and that was the first time any organization had ever landed a booster that had gone to space before. And I had the honor of being down there. The organization looked a little bit, Blue Origin looked a little different than it does today. We had a couple hundred employees. We're now over 10,000 employees.
Yeah.
We basically had, we had Kent and we had West Texas, and that's it. And there was a group of, I don't know, maybe like 15 of us, a dozen of us on this back porch. Of course, there was mission control. And it was the second time we had attempted this, similar to, right, there are a lot of parallels. Similar to New Glenn, we had a beautiful first launch, but if it were an expendable rocket, it had been a perfect first launch. We didn't land the booster the way we wanted to, and on the second launch, we launched it, and it came back, and Tabitha got, this is like ingrained, like just burned in my memory, is this rocket came down, and we heard on this handheld radio, the engines, like drag brakes deploy. Engine relay, and people are just like losing it. Breath, and you see in the distance, because for New Shepard, you're a couple miles away, and it kicked up all this dust, and then we heard touchdown, and there you go. See, you see our happy engineers. It was like that. We just our kilts.
But one thing is, we have built this company for a lot of things. And another big piece of it is customer focus.
Yes.
I got the chance to talk to Dave Limp about this yesterday. It's such an important part of everything we do. And it really ties into something else that we have, and that is our Mars Telecommunications Orbiter, or MTO. And let's kind of dive into this for a little bit. So current communications spacecraft at Mars, they're aging, and we need to make sure that we have new and robust capabilities out there that can kind of support breaking work on the Martian surface, but also to lay the groundwork for more science and even more human missions. Well, first human mission and all those beyond that.
Exactly, and our Mars Telecommunications Orbiter is based on existing blue ring vehicle, and it provides high rate communications, but also does much more in a single spacecraft.
Yeah, in addition to communications, our Blue Ring MTO could also fly exciting science payloads and technology demonstrations. For example, flying a synthetic aperture radar on Blue Ring MTO will help us find the ice on Mars, which will inform future landing sites for human missions. So take a look at our Mars telecommunications.
That concept is really cool. I also want to warn you, I am very biased because.
Tell me why, Ariane. Why are you biased?
So about 6 months ago, I took my current role, but prior to that, I had the honor. Oh, hold on. Just to note, well, we definitely have rain out there on the pad.
But this is Florida. If you don't like the weather, just wait 10 minutes.
Yeah, well, exactly. So but now you guys know why we were waiting for a little bit. We saw this coming, so we're just holding here and added a little bit more time to the clock, and that's why we're still holding about 24 minutes and 50 seconds to go until launch. We're going to wait for this to pass. But as I was mentioning, prior to taking this current role, I had the honor of being deputy in charge of our in-space systems business unit that is building Blue Ring, and Blue Ring has this ability to take up to 13 payloads and then deploy them, but then also act as the comms relay, also do space. So basically, you know, in a very take that whole constellation, send it to Mars, deploy the satellites, and then use the Blue Ring itself, which did its first job as transporting, to then be the communications relay back to Earth. And the more power you have in that comms capability, the faster you're going to get the data and the communications. Right now, one of the biggest issues is that Mars is so far away. And so like there's this huge delay. The better the comms you can have, the better we're setting up, as you were mentioning before, you know, future, not just the science that needs to happen to prep us for our future missions to Mars for, let's say, robotic landers and things like that, but also for people to go to Mars one day. So we're really excited about the prospect of this mission and what we can do, again, for our customer here at NASA as they think about future exploration missions.
Yeah, it's so exciting to hear just about everything that is happening. Again, you are watching the webcast for NG2. We're at L-23 minutes and about 20 seconds. Let's toss it back over to New Glenn on the pad. That booster, so appropriately named, Never Tell Me the Odds, looking nice and cool. NG2 in all glory. And so I want to talk about how cool it was for us to go and see this engineering marvel.
Let's check it out.
Okay, so walk me through kind of the different components of this rocket.
Okay, so on the most very basic level, we've got GS1, and then stacked on top of it, GS2. It's basically like stacking a rocket on top of a rocket, right? So let's maybe start with the GS1, right? And we want a section there that has the landing gear you see in each of the doors, but it also has the 7 BE4 engines that are in the base.
Right.
At the top then, so that's basically GS1. At the top, basically from the white portion above the gold and beyond, tucked in there are the 2 BE3U engines. The part with the feather, again, that's all basically tank, liquid oxygen, liquid hydrogen for the propellants. I forgot to mention, currently the gold deploys. So that's what happens with the second stage once it's out of space, but keep in mind, first stage,
making its way home.
It's making its way home, right? So the engines have done half of the work on its way up. We flip it around, we start a burn that slows the rocket.
Right.
We then use the strakes, or they're basically our wings at the base of the rocket. It helps with what we call cross range. So we basically can effectively fly the rocket, and then it lands on the Jacqueline platform just in the last couple minutes or less. Final engine that lights. You don't need all of the power, all the engines, because you're landing what is effectively an empty fuel tank.
And Ariane, it is so special. So
yeah, I had a chance to chat with some of our of course, have been in the industry a long time, and they got out there for a photo op yesterday, and they said, this rocket just looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And there is something to be said, actually, for you can look at a piece of engineering. I know it's very simplistic, but you can look at a piece of engineering and be like, aha, that looks right. That looks right. It feels right. You add too many bells and whistles, and you're like, it's not. This rocket is a marvel of engineering. It flew so well on its first go. I cannot wait to see how it performs on its second go. And as we said, just optimistic. We've made some changes to the first stage after our first launch, where we didn't recover the booster to be able to land this time. And
I think all minus 20 minutes. But in the meantime, here's something we love to do here. We love our jobs here, and we also love inspiring others. We want to inspire a few more of you also at home with our nonprofit Club for the Future. Club has the mission to inspire and mobilize future generations to pursue careers in STEAM. That's science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, all for the benefit of Earth. I am the A in STEAM.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which is
the arts part.
Which is super, super important. The ability to communicate about it, right? Like it's so important, the A component of STEAM. But as part of the Club for the Future program, one of the cool opportunities that we give is we allow students to send postcards to space and back via New Shepard. And we also provide online STEAM that are free for students and teachers to use. And then so that everybody can these digital postcard, this drawing tool that you can go online and anybody can send that art to space. So for more information, if that sounds cool to you, just go to clubforfuture.org.
That's right. That's clubforfuture.org. RN, where do you fall in the STEAM spectrum? You're a bit of everything, I feel like.
I've always kind of been like...
You're like, I'm science and technology and a bit of engineering and math.
Yeah, but I kind of like it all.
Job to build a road to space so that future generations can unleash their creativity. Check it out.
When I was in high school, I was working to build a rocket for a target altitude competition.
My mom took me to an observatory opening, and I got to see the rings of Saturn through a telescope.
Growing up, I was just not very good at doing school. I wasn't
All those really excited employees out there.
Yeah.
There they are, losing it. That's right. Team Blue. Looks like, I think this is our team in Huntsville. There's our team in Kent. Coming in on a Sunday to cheer on their rocket. Woo! You see,
I want to cheer with them. I want to be there.
If we land this rocket today, they're gonna
go nuts.
This is cheering.
We may
but
not
they are
be able
just
to show it.
And there's a team out here in Florida. You see, they're on top of the garage just right next to us. They've got the best view for this launch. There's our team. They are ready to rock and roll. I love it. I absolutely love it. The team at Blue.
There you go.
You're on TV. Those guys.
We're waiting too. We understand. We're waiting on that weather hold to lift. Everyone's excited, but the time is coming.
Where our team is they're still working on the situation with the weather and assessing the beautiful.
And I think what you were saying is, employees are so excited, and they're also very involved in community, and they're involved in schools, and Club for the Future gives us that opportunity.
Yeah, and it's not an accident in the sense that, our vision is millions of people living and working in space for the benefit of Earth.
That's right. For all of
and
Earth.
For all of Earth. And what we need to 3 steps. We need to figure out then how to go to space and take advantage of the resources that are out there to make life on Earth better. And the third key part of that is inspiring the next generation, because this is not a project that is done in 6 months. This is not building an app, right? Like this is
forever.
Decadal, generational type of work. And if we don't have a strong next generation to pass the baton to, that is super excited and is trained and is motivated to do so, then what are we doing?
Knowledge is power.
It fades if you don't pass that baton on. And so that's why at Blue we've made it a core part of what we do. And I don't use like the big, we Blue Origin, but literally as individuals, there are so many of us that we call club ambassadors that go
I'm one of them.
I'm
You're
also
one of them.
Go and speak about space on behalf of Blue, but arguably on behalf.
Because it's so cool to be able to inspiring you two at home. But if you're just joining us, this is the webcast for NG2. We've got a live look on the right side of your screen of Jacqueline. Would look a lot better once that booster. You have New Glenn on the pad ready to go. But let's talk about the flight profile overall. While we're in this hold, we're in a weather hold right now, we made a really cool video that dives a little bit deeper on the entire flight profile of New Glenn. So check it out.
New Glenn lifts off from Launch Complex 36 on Cape Canaveral. This is the point at which the stress on the vehicle is at its highest. Around 3 minutes into the flight, the vehicle will turn off its engines, marking the end of the boost phase. Shortly after, the reusable first stage will separate and begin its journey back to Earth. 2 BE-3U engines on the second stage will ignite the guided autonomous Earth, landing on a vessel at sea. At around 9,000 feet, or just under 3,000 meters, the first stage begins its final landing burn. The 3 middle engines will light for 20 seconds, slowing the vehicle in preparation for the final descent. The 2 outer engines will turn off, and the center engine will execute the final controlled maneuver onto the landing platform. Meanwhile, in space, the second stage will continue to power the payload towards its final orbit. At around 400,000, large satellites, dual payloads, orbital vehicles, large constellation dispensers will separate from New Glenn's second stage. This is New Glenn. This is how we will build a road to space.
I get chills every time I see that feather come on screen. It's such a great piece pulled together to really explain what's going to be happening with NG2. So there you go. You have a live look, though, of New Glenn on the pad. Now you understand the entire flight profile. But while we're in this hold and we're working out weather, let's go ahead and send it back over to the rocket and just sit with NG2. The webcast for NG2. We are currently in a hold at about the L-20 minute mark. And I got an update for you guys. We're waiting on weather. You might be looking at that and be like, the weather looks pretty good, Tab. But then and I'd be like, you're right. It's looking a lot better, huh? Well, we're also chasing some boats out of the way.
Boats!
There are some boats that are essentially being told, hey, you're in our flight path. You got to get out of here. They should have known that to begin with. But that's just things that you deal with when you deal with rocket launches.
Tabitha, I'm gonna try.
Boys, you're at the best spot to see the rocket launch. But let's talk about something serious for a second. Let's talk about how hard it is to land the booster. For those of you who don't know, you probably do know if you're watching this. We never tell me the odds, and I like the name of that booster, so I want to keep it. So Eddie, how hard is that?
Well, so first off, thank you for your patience. The weather here is looking a little better. The boats, as Ariane said last time, definitely safety is our highest priority. And the tortoise, for me, a sign of good luck. I mean, I think it's just a trifecta of signs that we're ready to not just launch Escapade to space successfully, but to land this booster. So we learned a lot. Nothing substitutes flight data. So the GS1 booster, after it separates from the GS2 upper stage, it does a 180-degree so that the aft and so that 180-degree maneuver is conducted by our reaction control system. They're peroxide monothrusters. We call them the severe weather agility thrusters. And engine goes for a reignition. So the 3 center engines reignite what we call the exo-atmospheric re-entry burn, and its entire purpose is to slow down the GS1 as it re-enters the atmosphere so that its superior aerodynamic performance, those long strakes, those forward fins, can guide the GS1.
When you watch the Olympics and you watch someone run fast, you're like, oh, I could do that. It's like, thank you, Eddie, for that great explanation. Again, you are watching.
Mars history, up to about 2 billion less. This is important for a couple of different reasons. One, the sun belches out a couple billion tons of hot plasma, often at high speed, high density. As that shock expands through the solar system, it accelerates particles to really high energies, high enough energies that they can go right through a spacesuit and cause astronaut health problems.
Right.
And so the radiation on the surface of Mars, when you get a big enough coronal mass ejection, you can get 100. This happened last year, June 6th, 2024. The usual background level radiation was increased by a factor of 100 for that day when that happened. And so if you're an astronaut on the surface of Mars, you don't want to be out. These measurements are going to enable us to better forecast those radiation hazards. There's another reason too why ESCAPADE's important, because we're also going to be studying the ionosphere. So this is a layer of gas in the upper atmosphere that's ionized. And that's important because that layer, it distorts radio signals as they pass through it. And understanding the variability and the structure of that ionosphere will help us to correct for those distortions.
For communication.
Communication, but also for navigation, because there's going to want to be GPS on Mars eventually. And understanding how the ionosphere distorts the GPS signals will enable astronauts to know better where they are. All these things are taken into account on Earth. It's all behind the scenes, and ESCAPADE will help us understand the ionosphere.
It's really cool to know that we're thinking about these future problems now.
Yeah.
And speaking of things that are happening in the future, I mean, ESCAPADE is not going to be making it actually to Mars. The spacecrafts aren't going to be there for at least 2027.
That's right. That's right indeed, yeah.
So what happens once ESCAPADE deploys? Kind of tell me more about the trajectory.
Okay, well, so after it deploys, first of all, there's a few important checkouts we have to do. The first thing is we got to deploy the solar panels and we got to get it to speak to us. And so actually, the viewers will be interested to know that we may not hear from the spacecraft for up to 3 hours after launch. And that is by design.
Okay.
Because we have 2 antennas, one on either side of the spacecraft, and they only work one at a time. And we don't know which one necessarily is going to be pointed towards Earth initially, aspects of the mission. And you mentioned trajectory. So yes, we are taking quite an unusual path to Mars. We are going to spend about a year in a very large Earth orbit, fairly gravitationally bound to the Earth. We're calling this the loitering phase. It's in the shape of a kidney bean. It kind of goes like this. And next November 2026, we're going to come back to Earth after going more than 2 million miles away. We're going to come back to only 600 kilometers above the surface. We're going to use Earth's gravity and burn our engines at that point, taking advantage of Earth's gravity to slingshot ourselves toward Mars. Because early November next year is when the interplanetary window opens for a transit from Earth to Mars. So all Mars missions before us have had to wait until this narrow 3 or 4 week window every 25 months. We're launching halfway between these 2 windows. Enough launch pad.
The mission actually starts. How long is the mission going to be going on?
Months in that cruise to Mars, doing little trajectory correction maneuvers all the time, little tiny engine burns to like just barely tweak our path so that we can intercept Mars in early September 2027. And that's when we got to do another big engine burn to be captured by Mars's gravity. And that's when we will be in Mars orbit. Then we spend another 7-8 months-ish adjusting the orbits.
Wow.
So first of all, lowering the orbits, then adjusting the orbits. And this is important because ESCAPADE is doing what we call solar conjunction, where the sun also is...
So this is going to take us all the way into 2029.
Yes, exactly, yeah. It's, I think, May 2029 is the nominal end of the science mission. And I mentioned the 2 spacecraft are going to be the pearls on a string. We do that for the first 6 months. And that's important because we want to know how the upper atmosphere of Mars is changing minute to minute. So in the past, with only single orbiter missions, we've had to wait 4 or 5 hours to see how things have changed. And by that point, the planet's turned a quarter rotation, things are different. We don't know how anything changes on short timescales at all on Mars. ESCAPADE is going to pass through the same part of the upper atmosphere twice in a quick succession, so 2 minutes to 30 minutes apart, to see how it changes on those short timescales. Lower the other orbit, and then the 2 orbits are different, and they start precessing. This is a word for the orbital planes moving with respect to each other.
Okay.
And this allows the 2 spacecraft to get much further apart from each other to make those simultaneous cause and effect measurements that I mentioned earlier, to understand the real-time response of the upper atmosphere to the space weather events.
And so with all that, understanding how us going into 2029, how do you feel today?
I feel excited. I feel a little anxious, as everyone does on launch day, but I am super, super excited. I'm proud of everyone who worked on Escapade at Blue Origin, at Rocket Lab, at Berkeley, at Embry-Riddle, all of our partners. Advanced Space LLC, they were the ones who did most of the work to design this innovative path to Mars as well. And so I'm just so proud of the whole team. Probably thousands of people have worked on bits of it. And we're a radical experiment by NASA in seeing whether they can accept slightly higher risk and less oversight in exchange for a much lower cost. And the idea being that overall you get way more science per dollar if you do this. And
We call it bang for your buck.
Bang for your buck, science for your dollar. And it's because we are embracing, as I said, a lighter sort of a touch by NASA. We're using more commercial off-the-shelf parts. There are fewer reviews. There are fewer sort of requirements. NASA's kind of letting us run a little more than they would typically.
Okay.
And NASA's oversight is often what drives a lot of cost. That's great, but it does come at a cost. And so this is hopefully a new way of doing at least a fraction of NASA's science portfolio with this higher risk, lower cost approach.
It's very exciting to have you here, to be able to interview you.
This is an exceptional sight. Just watching pieces of other rockets being put together and knowing that our booster, our upper stage,
It was all built right here.
it was all built right here. The fairings, the payload adapter, it was all built right here. Yeah.
Well, Rob, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
So obviously a great interview and a great opportunity to be able to talk to Dr. Rob Lillis there. If you were just joining us, you are watching the webcast for NG2. If you're looking at your screen, you might notice we have a new L time, which is L minus 28 minutes and about 30 seconds. Now, to keep you guys updated, we know that the weather is now clear. You're like, all right, that's some good news, right? Well, we have also learned that the launch team is looking into an issue with our ground support equipment at the pad. So we wanted to give you an update on that. And of course, we're going to keep monitoring everything happening around NG2.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when you look at a rocket, you're like, oh, the rocket's going to go. There is a lot of engineering that also goes into the ground systems. That's the ground system of the pad. That is the ground systems for the telemetry and the communications. We need to be tracking the vehicle. But like out there on the pad, that pad actually is a feat of engineering in its own right. In fact, this Launch Complex 36, we were talking about it earlier in the webcast, it's been used as a launch complex for decades before us. But we
Great history,
but we basically cleared it out and built it back up again. The amount of power, data, propellants, all these lines that are going up there. You see the two towers, the one on the right will eventually have crew coming off of it. Slightly off the shot to the left, we've got the water tower. There you got a kind of a back out view so you can see a little bit more. There's a lot that goes on out there. We've got this huge, what we call our propellant farm. There's a lot that goes on out there. So we need that to also be working and working properly and in right conditions to keep the rocket ready to go as it ticks down. And then when we will turn, obviously, the show, if you will, over to the rocket. But in the meantime, there's a lot of work happening for data, power, that then could translate down the line, down the pipes, literally, to the rocket. We have to check it out. So our team is on it. But, we do have a little bit of time here to do so. But it looks like the weather might be clearing up. You live here in Florida. This is wild. How do you put up with this?
Minutes. It just keeps on a constant rotation. But I will say, it is great to see NG2 on the pad, ready to go. You know what they say, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen out there. And so right now, I'm going to toss it back over. Again, you are watching the webcast of NG2. We're at L minus 26 minutes before this historic launch. Just under 24 minutes. And Ariane, you and I have the distinct pleasure of being joined today by our very own Eddie Seyfert. And Eddie is one of my favorite people to talk to about engines. Eddie knows all things engines, as do you.
Eddie. Coming to you
with
live.
Eddie. We're coming to you. Let's talk a little bit about our engines.
Hey Tabitha, hey Ariane, thank you for the opportunity to talk about our rocket engines, the liquid propulsion systems that for me are one of the highlights of today's show. So our BE4 engines, which are manufactured in Kent, Washington and in Huntsville, Alabama, they're tested at Launch Site 1 at our BE4 engine test stand, as well as at the historic 4670 test stand. Now, I'm a former test guy, and these BE4 engines are a medium performing variant of a high performance architecture, and the teams that test these rocket engines are just eking out more and more and more thrust, better ISP for these engines that serves our customers. So like for example, this year we delivered our 30th BE4 engine to our customer, United Launch Alliance, and in the building that was behind me when this webcast started, we have multiple ship sets worth of BE4 engines for New Glenn.
Eddie, do you feel like you have a particular love for one or the other, the BE4 or the BE3? I know you were out in West Texas for a long time. We do a testing of all of our engines really there, but do you have a favorite?
Well, no, I have a favorite, right? They're all great engines. For example,
You can't say you love one of your babies more than the other, huh, Eddie?
an expander cycle, right? Those two molecules come together and they create a lot of energy and steam. And you know, BE3U originally started from the BE3 engine that now has flown 36 successful times on New Shepard, but they baselined it at 160,000 pounds of thrust. When it first flew earlier this year in January, it flew at 174,000 pounds of thrust. And this team is kicking butt. They keep increasing those thrust levels, keeping the performance high, and really it's all about the upper stage when it comes to the payload.
And you see they're actually on the shot, we've got the two nozzles in the second stage of the BE3U.
Oh, wow.
Those are huge nozzles. Eddie, do you want to talk about why those nozzles are so large on the BE3Us? Why do we have to have such massive nozzles?
Right, so in the vacuum of space, these nozzles don't have the atmosphere to push back in them and crumple them when the exhaust is you know, being exhausted at supersonic, so faster than the speed of sound velocities. And that extra nozzle just gives you more momentum and higher specific impulse, right? 30 to 40 seconds more specific impulse, right? The analogy I like to use is if I had a big red balloon here in front of me, it would have pressure inside of it as a chamber, like a pressure vessel, and I would be holding it by its nozzle. It's a very technical term. And if I let it go, the big red balloon would essentially fly away. So I'm not saying our rocket engines are big red balloons, but it's the analogy that I like to think of.
That's a good way.
At least
Eddie,
they're blue balloons.
yeah.
They're going to be balloons, Eddie.
They don't have to be
Come on.
red. They've been big blue
Sorry,
balloons.
big-
He also, I remember
Yeah,
I went to
that's right.
one of his, he hosts these things here at Blue Origin where we can learn more about updates with different things happening with our engines. And he is explaining essentially the shower head method and how shower head is very similar to how an engine works. But Eddie, I think it's so great to be able to talk to him anytime about engines. And we're so grateful for him. Of course, he is out with our employees. The best viewing spot to see NG2 take to the skies. You're looking at NG2 right now on the pad, and in this moment, we're going to toss it back over to the rocket because coming up here short, a very exciting go, no go poll. So we're going to toss it over the rocket and kind of await that poll.
we are still pending GME final configurations and LVHD retraction, also pending weather. This is the go for final configs and terminal count. GC.
GC is go pending retraction of LVHD10.
LC1.
LC1 is no go pending day of launch PDI load.
Fiore, go pending the load. LC2.
LC2 is go.
LSO.
Go.
OSM.
Go with the exception of weather.
RC.
Go.
ESR.
ESR go pending LVHD and PDI. LVHD retraction.
Recovery.
Go.
GLI.
Go.
BMD.
Go.
GC, LC1, LC2. Perform final configurations for terminal count. Report when ready for terminal count gate checks.
LC2 copy.
Oh, this is RC and count 1.
RC.
Another potential sea surveillance violation with a cruise ship. We're still working on Coast Guard to make contact. I'll give you an update as soon as I have it.
LD copies.
So you just heard the go pulled there. It seems like a conditional go according to the weather. So we are going to continue to our terminal count, and we're going to continue to also keep an eye on the weather. So lots of things that we are tracking at this moment in time.
I think we should note there just a second. So first of all, our launch director, Megan Lewis, that lady is a boss.
Yes.
She is fantastic. There's a lot of things to coordinate there, and you heard various teams giving their go, no go, and go pending. And obviously we have to track a lot, especially in these last 15 minutes. And her job in that room is to coordinate. You saw the people in the front room, but then there's also essentially what's like an engineering support room in the back.
Yeah.
So that they go off and they track things, they run things down and report back on making these clears. So they are go pending because they want to launch this rocket. And they think that there is...
The payload volume of New Glenn was all developed not only for today, but for the future.
All right, we are at L minus 10 minutes and 34 seconds to go from New Glenn's second launch And Tabitha, you recently had the chance to chat with our CEO, Dave Limp, about NG2 and what this mission means for science, but also for Blue Origin.
I certainly did. It was so great to be able to sit down and actually talk with him. And I think you guys are going to be surprised to learn just how much of this moment has really been building up over time, and how even when he was a child, you know, Dave himself had an interest in space. Check it out. This is a really big moment for Blue Origin. Can you tell me how NG2 compares to NG1?
Yeah, I think NG1 was obviously our first mission. There was lots to learn, and we made our goal, which was to get to orbit. This time, we're going to be a little bit more ambitious, and we want to not only get to orbit, but we have our first paying customer this time with Escapade, and get them off to Mars. That's the first part of our goal, and then the second part of the goal is to land the booster out on Jacqueline. And you know, if we don't, we have more over here in the factory that we're building, but we're going to give it our best shot.
Never Tell Me the Odds is pretty fitting for this booster. You know, we are taking our second attempt at landing it for the first time. How are you going to feel if we land it?
Well, I certainly will not channel my inner C-3PO. I will be very ecstatic. You know,
those organizations really working together to further our ultimate goals.
Yeah, I think each component of what we do has a piece of trying to get millions of people to work and live in space. And, you know, they all have their individual, but as it relates to this particular mission, a huge amount of people have put work into it. Obviously, our engines team in building both the engines for the booster, the BE-4s, and the BE-3Us for the upper stage. We also have a huge amount of work by the, obviously, New Glenn team building this vehicle, but also New Shepard has been a pathfinder. So all our avionics fly on New Shepard first, so that we can get a sense of what's going on there and get a sense what it's like to have flight-ready hardware. And so it takes a whole team, and it's a very big cross-functional effort across Blue.
You know, we have more than 10,000 employees here that are very excited about this moment. I'm one of them. What is your message to those who are going to be watching our webcast and be watching NG2 take to the skies?
Well, I think, I'm sure, but point of our journey, obviously we have a lot more rockets to make and a lot more customers to make happy as we move forward. But to the extent we're successful here, I hope everybody at Team Blue takes a pause. We'll take that deep breath. We'll sort of embrace the moment and then move on, because we have a lot of customers waiting for us to succeed. And there's nothing that makes you happier in business and in your life when you see the smile on customers' faces.
Did you ever think that you would be doing something like this in your career when you're watching your rockets launch? No? No, not in a million years. I was very happy making Fire TVs and Echoes, but it is a boyhood dream, and so to be able to have it, I kind of pinch myself every day and just amazed that I get to wake up and help this and lead this amazing team of people build incredible technology like New Glenn. I mean, and in reference to that, one of the first things they ask you when you come onto Blue Origin is, what is your first memory of space? What is your first memory of space?
Yeah, I have a lot of pictures. It turned out my third, fourth, and fifth birthday.
And we have to tell you guys, right now we are tracking a cruise ship that is in the area and closely tracking weather, as we heard in the Go poll. But my understanding is that by the time it comes to our moment of launch, cruise ship should be out of the way, but we're still keeping our eyes on that weather, Ariane.
Absolutely, but with that, we're under 6 minutes to go. Let's go out to Eddie, because you realize we're about 5 minutes to go from the launch. Eddie, how's everybody feeling out there?
Yeah, it is hype out here. We are so excited to be at less than 5 minutes before launch. We're excited to be here.
Chicken? A rooster?
Yeah, we got rooster and the flag. Everybody say hi to Rooster. An Escapade, and this is the team that's launching the rocket today. They helped build it.
Amazing. They are absolutely psyched. And what we're waiting for here is a go, no go, final go, no go. We're bringing this down to the minute on this one. We want to launch before our window, so we're waiting on the team to determine if that's way to go.
Oh, Eddie, let's go Blue. Let's go Blue. Thank you so much. We are hyped. They are hyped. Since we are at essentially L-4 minutes, let's go ahead and toss it back over to the rocket right now.